Well, let's flip to the other side here. When there's a Stanley Cup winner, there's a Stanley Cup loser. And the Tampa Bay Lightning, while they've made 3 Stanley Cup finals now, their run of consecutive cup wins has come to an end. And yes, our technical producer, Alex Allard, with a little tongue-in-cheek here. Are the Lightning heading towards a rebuild? And obviously, a joke. But there's some truth in every joke. And the question is, how can the Lightning keep this going? I think as you watch them in this playoff run, it was hard. They were banged up. They were, in every sense of the word, limping to the finish line here in this series. And on one hand, them forcing 6 games against this Colorado Avalanche team, this kind of a juggernaut, is wildly impressive. But Mike, they clearly didn't have enough in the tank. So the question is, do they have enough in the tank to rest, regroup? It's another short summer for them. Do they have enough in the tank to go on another run next year, or is this maybe the beginning of the end?
I don't think it's as much how much gas is in the tank as how much work needs to be done to the bodywork and the chassis of this team in terms of repairing it, because the Lightning were so beat up. And Kevin Weeks had a great interview with John Cooper after the game, and Cooper just intimated how many of his players probably shouldn't have been playing. And Braden Point should be out 6 months, yet he's out on the ice again. You know, like, these were the types of things coming out of Cooper's mouth. And I can't help but think that the injuries just got to be too much for Tampa to really be able to compete with anything beyond their first line against Colorado. So I don't think that the team's in much trouble next year and moving forward. Like, they've got most of their core locked up for the next couple of years. And I do think it could probably be a tad faster if you're going to compete with Colorado. But again, where is the injury factor? If Cirelli's 100%, you're probably a little quicker too. They really only have 2 big UFAs, and that's Andre Palat and Nick Paul. And Nick Paul was a rental. You don't know if they'll be able to keep him around. Palat made $5.3 million this year. He's due for a raise in the cap. You know, the Lightning are right up against the salary cap. So, you know, are they going to have to move somebody out? Does Killorn's $4.45 million for 1 more year look like something you'd have to part with if you want to keep players? I don't know what's going to happen in Tampa, but I think just even with that core that they have, they're built for success. And with some health and a little bit of luck along the way, Tyler, I think they're going to be just fine in the mix next season again.
Yeah, you mentioned their cap situation. Right now, they're 1.9 over the cap, but once Seabrook goes on LTIR, they'll really have, just under $5 million to spend. Okay, you're probably not touching any piece of sort of your big 4 demon, Hedman, McDonough, Sergachev, and Chernak. Those guys are probably sticking around. Your bottom 6 is so cheap that there's not like there's a clear cut, like, okay, we got to dump that guy to get more money. Killorn, I think, is the one guy. 1 more year on the deal. If you move him out, all of a sudden you're up to, just north of $9 million. That's probably enough to bring back Paul and Palat and run it back with this same group right now. Julien Brisebois is one of the best GMs in the NHL, and he's going to have to get a little creative if he wants to get rid of that Killorn contract without keeping anything or without having to give up too much of a future asset. But, I mean, they're still going to have Vasilevsky and Hedman and Kucherov and Stamkos and Point and Cirelli, and it's like this team could very easily go on another run next year.
Yep, you nailed it. I mean, look at the minutes Kucherov was playing in the 3rd period last night, double shifting on the ice every moment you could get. And that's a person who'd had to leave a game earlier in the series. So, with those players that you just rattled off, Vasilevsky, Hedman, Stamkos, Kucherov, Point, like, this team's built to contend. It's just a matter of if they can get their health and what little adjustments Brisebois got to make.
Yeah, and one thing we learned about them this year is that their ability to flip the switch, they finished 3rd in their division, and there was a lot of talk of like, it's not that easy. You can't just go into Stanley Cup mode automatically. Well, the Lightning kind of showed us that, no, they can. They just flip that little switch come playoff time. They could come 4th in the division next year, and I'm sure they would still be betting odds favorites to win round 1 because they just have that championship mentality.